And we will call to order the Cumberland County Salary Board and Board of Commissioners meeting. And we'll begin with the Salary Board with a roll call, please.
Absolutely. Commissioner Heater?
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Fauci? I'm here. Commissioner Eichelberger? Controller Beck? Here.
We open it up to any public comments for the Salary Board at this time. Is there anyone showing online looking to make a public comment? We have a whole host of people here, but I think they're all for other reasons. But if there is anyone for public comment, please let me know. Nope, nothing online. All right, we'll move forward to the approval of the minutes of the March 11th meeting.
I motion to approve the March 11th meeting minutes.
A second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is the approval of the Salary Board actions.
I move to approve the salary board actions except for the treasurer's office.
A second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Someone like to make a motion for the Salary Board action for the Treasurer's Office?
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the treasurer's office.
I second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any other business to come before the Salary Board at this time? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. We are adjourned, and we will call to order the Commissioners meeting and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have another roll call, please, Lauren.
Commissioner Heater?
I'm here.
Commissioner Fauci? I'm here. Commissioner Eichelberger?
We open up the agenda to public comment on any non-agenda items. If there's anyone in the room wishing to make a comment on non-agenda items for this meeting, please let me know. If there's anyone online, please use the raise your hand feature. Do we have anyone live? Okay, we will go into, we have some really fun things scheduled here at this onset of our meeting. And we will start first with a presentation from the Red Cross. They're going to come up and give us a short presentation. I think you'll be able to see the slide deck on the screens. And with us, we have Laura Burke and Erin Sunday.
Actually, there's a correction.
Oh, okay.
I'm Erin Sunday.
I knew you were Erin.
And we have Vera DePietro, who is one of our regional philanthropy officers. Laura couldn't be with us today. She's been running around. You may have seen her yesterday. There was advocacy, which they called a Day at the Hill for the American Red Cross. So that was all over the news as well.
Well, welcome, Vera. I apologize that I hadn't met you yet, but we have seen Erin
a number of times,
couple occasions here. Yes.
It's not letting me go full screen. 1 second. Apologies. It's not right. It's the tech person.
We love it when it works.
Can you see that?
We have been provided this. If we have to go on the fly, we can do that. I would love for other people to see it though, because the graphics are nice and the numbers are impressive.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right.
Is it coming up?
Is it coming up on the screens? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
All right. So again, thank you for having us. Again, my name is Erin Sunday. I am the board chair for the Central Pennsylvania Red Cross chapter. The Central Pennsylvania Red Cross chapter covers 11 counties, of which Cumberland is one of them. And really this slide deck is devoted to Cumberland County. So any of the numbers that you see on this slide deck really impacts Cumberland County. And I actually have updated numbers for you as we go through this. So Vera. Next one.
Lauren, do you want to?
Yep. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. So you'll see on the screen, we go in a fiscal year. So we start July 1st. This number has been updated. We have responded to 36 disaster events within Cumberland County since July 1st, 2025. And of those disaster events within Cumberland County, that really impacted 136 individuals. We also provided $35,000 in immediate aid to Cumberland County through the American Red Cross. Within Cumberland County, we have 292 volunteers supporting our mission. And we also had 28 disaster health and mental health services since July 1st. We've also installed 60 smoke alarms in Cumberland County through the Home Fire Campaign. Those smoke alarms are free of charge to anyone. They can always contact the American Red Cross. We'll make a time to come out and install those for the individuals. Now I want to spend a little time here. We've collected since July 1st, 3,365 units of blood through approximately 115 blood drives. A little information about those. Each blood drive costs about $6,000 to run. So it's a huge investment, but every unit of blood impacts about 3 individuals. So it's really important. And within that 3,365, we've impacted 10,000 people just within Cumberland County. We have a severe need for blood. You may have seen commercials with really high people for them. And that's really because of the winter shortage. We always run into a shortage during the winter. People don't want to come out of their house. But we ran into higher levels of need because there was a lot of cancellations of blood drives due to the weather. And then 295 people were reached through pre-preparedness programs. So there are some opportunities here. And again, you can reach out to the American Red Cross. We talked about the free smoke alarm installation. If you know anyone that needs that or any communities, please reach out. We'd be happy to canvass those communities for you. If you know of any volunteers, we're always willing to accept volunteers. They can have help at blood drives. They can sign cards. Whatever their level of comfort is, we can handle that. We need shelter facility partners. And the one thing I would ask is that if there are any corporations, companies, small businesses that want to do a blood drive, we enjoy that partnership with those companies. And then just a little bit about our social media, probably on every single one. You can just find us there. And then again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Laura Burke is our executive director, but you can just call the local office, which is in Harrisburg for the local chapter.
In addition, if you go to soundthealarm.org/greaterPA, you will find a request form to request a free smoke alarm or as many free smoke alarms as your house needs. It is free of charge. Feel free to share it with your colleagues, with your family, friends, because these lithium-ion 10-year smoke alarms are about $25 a piece, and not everyone has that money to invest all the time. So share the information and celebrate Red Cross Month by testing your existing smoke alarms and giving us a buzz if you are in need of an update.
Vera, Aaron, thank you both. Samantha, if we could just make sure when we send out our announcement, we add that
absolutely.
that site for folks to reach out to. It unfortunately seems like daily that I'm receiving notices of a fire in Cumberland County that firefighters are responding to through our 911 center, helping to coordinate. So life-saving devices that you're providing. So thank you.
And if you do hear of fires that are occurring, we sometimes hear that families deny our services, but we're not there just for that night. We're there for ongoing care to help replace prescriptions, to help replace durable medical equipment, to contact their families if they need so. So it's not that night that we're just there, it's ongoing services.
And these disasters are so stressful. We do have a mental health professionals available for anyone who's suffered the trauma of a home fire or other disasters, including counseling for folks that have had a pet loss in their family. So we've got lots of talented individuals ready to help anyone who's been impacted financially, emotionally, physically and to help with recovery.
Thank you very much. We are going to make a proclamation, so I will read that now, and I may not have your most current numbers. And
Oh, that's
be
okay.
prepared, so I apologize, but Cumberland County Commissioners recognize American Red Cross Month. And whereas the American Red Cross supplies 40% of the nation's blood and plays a critical role in providing shelter, nourishment, and comfort to disaster victims, while also teaching life-saving skills, distributing humanitarian aid, and offering support to our veterans, military members, and their families. And whereas closer to home, the Central Pennsylvania chapter of the American Red Cross works to prevent and alleviate human suffering during emergencies through the generosity of donors and its volunteers. And whereas the chapter provided critical support to over 167 individuals affected by disasters, such as home fires, and installed 218 free smoke alarms, hosted over 140 blood drives, collecting more than 4,300 units of blood, and delivered more than 118 services to veterans, military members, and their families. And whereas the chapter supported 89 residents through 27 events, provided more than $24,000 in financial assistance, and responded to 22 disaster health service cases and 6 mental health cases. And whereas we recognize and celebrate the selfless contributions of the individuals who make a profound impact locally through their time, generosity, and commitment. Now, therefore, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners hereby declares March 2026 as American Red Cross Month. Thank you,
Thank you.
ladies. And if you'd like
Thank
to
you.
come up, we'll take a few pictures on the with the proclamation. Is that good, Ben?
Yeah, that's good right there. I'm gonna take several.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in. Ladies, you're welcome to stick around, or you can move on to the other parts of your day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Yeah. Next up, we have some really incredible volunteers that we would like to acknowledge. And this is in recognition of their 60 years of volunteering for Penn State Ag Extension. We have with us Sandy Long, Barbara Rebert, and Galen Smith, who all have participated. I should have said their clubs. Sandy was the Cumberland County 4-H Horse and Pony Club. Barbara Rebert was also the 4-H Horse and Pony Club. And Galen Smith was the 4-H Dairy Club. So we have with us the director and leader of 4-H for Cumberland County, Tina Wright. And Tina, if you all would like to come up, you could make some comments, and we'll take some pictures and hand out some awards here. 60 years, ladies. You started at what, 10?
So it's
Okay,
just a lady.
okay.
We do have Wyatt is gonna accept.
Yes, Wyatt can accept it.
Okay.
Wyatt is a current member.
Oh, wonderful.
And I do want to say, it's not unusual for us to have 30 or 40-year volunteers that it's, for a 4-H, but 3 6-year volunteers is really incredible. So this is really a milestone for the whole state.
There you go. There you go. That's better. Let's flip this around. Oh. Do that. Look how cute they are there. Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here's that. And Wyatt, you are accepting on behalf of Galen because you are not even. All right, where can I squeeze in here? Here, I'll go on this side if you want.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Can I get everyone just a little bit over this way?
That side of people here.
Okay, all right, I think we're good there. Yep, all right, everyone, look here, we're gonna take several.
Ladies, would you like to say anything? What's the secret to this long-term commitment? Just a real love of the work? Teaching?
Helping the kids, and I'm involved with presenting drill team that we do this past year. We sort of screwed up, didn't we, honey? My son is in the back corner, my daughter-in-law, and this is my grandson that rides. So we're still, and we did a special thing this year. And I just sat there and watched all those. We did it on different stations, and these little kids, they just had a ball. They running around. They just loved running around that arena. So it was fun to watch that, and we've been asked to do more of that kind of thing, haven't we?
Wonderful. I'm sure the parents appreciated you tiring out the kids.
Yes, I think that's what the big thing was. That just made me think the little kids, they just thought it was great running around that big arena.
Barbara, do you have anything?
To add on to what she said, we couldn't present at the farm show. Drill team has presented there every year since 1955. And we've been fortunate enough to be asked back every year, but this year there was a disease going on and a lot of things were canceled. So we didn't have horses, so we did stations on foot, so. But anyway, I've been active also, and we both live on farms, promote farming too, but I like the horses, and I started judging with the kids, and we've had several teams that have won the state competition, and I had about 3 or 4 that won the national competition. So these kids, it teaches them how to make decisions and stand by what they say and promote it very well. So it's just been very nice to work with kids and horses, and even once in a while some other livestock too. But we like it.
Well, thank you for your work. Did you want to say anything? Would you like to begin comments?
Well, I will say they were discussing the drill team, and yes, our drill team has presented at Farm Show for many years. And this year they did a fantastic job of pivoting when they chose to not present because of the quarantine restrictions. It was safest for our members and their animals to not present. And they came up with a great idea that we could still be there, represent 4-H, and share their love of horses with other folks in the community. So that was great. And I appreciate these folks coming, because 4-H would be nothing without the volunteers that do everything for our youth.
And I had the chance to participate in the feed scurry, and horses are very tricky and difficult. So I gained a whole new respect for how hard they are to manage. But thank you all for the work you do, and Tina helping to coordinate, and the next generations participating. I think we owe them all a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I will take that to the office.
As I said, you all are welcome to stay, or you are welcome to head out to other things. That, after the excitement, will take us to the consent agenda. I'll turn it over to Chief Clerk Stacy.
Thank you, Commissioner. So the consent agenda is a list of routine items that do not appear to be controversial in nature, and which seem to not require any additional discussion. If discussion is required on any of the items, or desired, I should say, on any of the items, and that would be agenda items number 6 through number 13, now would be the time to make that request. Hearing none, seeing none, Commissioners, I would ask for approval.
I move to approve. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. That takes us then to the regular agenda, which is a list of non-routine items that will be discussed and may be acted upon in future. We'll start with agenda item 14, which is discussion and possible motion to authorize the issuance of an RFP. We have Kirk Stoner joining us online to discuss and seek approval.
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hello.
Yes.
Video wouldn't come on. I don't know what's going on. RFP for a solar project.
Thank you so
As you may
much.
recall,
Thank you.
all right, we good to go?
Yes, you're great.
All right, sounds good. Just make sure I have everyone's attention. Commissioners, as you may recall, last year in early 2025, we had an RFP for a solar project on county property. We solicited RFPs, went through an interview process, and came down to selection of the firm. That selection never occurred. The project was put on hold. There's recent interest from the board in reissuing this RFP and pursuing the project again. Really, this RFP is an update of the previous one. We've made some additions to it. We would put it out for RFP again, see what the responses are. The project would essentially remain the same. That we'd be looking at a solar array on our county property that would be net metered to capture all of our county buildings within a 2-mile radius. The proposals that we received last time, the project appeared to be very viable and positive for the county with cost avoidance. Well, I think a lot of things have changed at the federal level. I think the project still may still remain viable. And I think this RFP gives us an opportunity to test the waters and see whether or not it is viable, and if we have interest in someone coming to work with us to do a power purchase agreement for the solar array. So that's what I have. I think everyone's very familiar with the project and what it was and what it is, but happy to answer questions that you may have.
Anyone have any questions of Kirk at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you, commissioners. Thanks, Kirk. That takes us then to the contract and grants portion of the agenda, and I'll ask Angela Smizer to cover those items.
All right, take this to agenda item 15. I will call on Virginia Kozer to discuss a contract for CASA Court Administration. And I think she might have Jen here with her as well.
Come up here. You can just stand up. Okay. Hi, thank you for having us. We have a proposed contract with the YMCA to be able to do a presentation with them to recruit new volunteers for our CASA program. This is a first that we're being asked to sign a contract to be able to just come and present information and recruit new volunteers, and would seek your approval for that.
Very good. Yeah, I move to approve. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, that takes us to agenda item 16, and I will call on Jamie Reiber to discuss the contracts for children and youth. Good afternoon, Jamie.
Good afternoon. The first contract I have is with Adelphi Village Incorporated. This is an addendum to our already existing contract. We are adding a level of care. It's for complex cases. It is $1,193.01 per day. This is designed to address the needs of youth with extensive history of out-of-home placements, multiple systems involvement, and they provide more intensive support and counseling for them. The second one I have is Berks County Youth Center. This is for their shelter program. This is to allow us to have more options available for our shelter beds. They also are, a lot of other county-run shelters will typically bump our kids out for their own county, and that is not their practice. So if we do need to use them, we won't have to scramble to find another placement for them. We are adding a shelter bed rate of $549 a day, which is comparable to our other shelter levels. We also are adding a couple additional levels, which is supervision for when they're in a medical isolation unit or need one-on-one supervision by their staff, both at $668.52 a day. And then the other items that we're adding are for just in case that we would have the availability of their staff to watch the youth when they're in a hospital or inpatient facility, and then as well as transporting them if necessary. The next one is for CSI Corporate Security and Investigations. We did just contract with them initially for the first time. However, after we got our contract back after our last meeting, we realized that we did not have the one particular level of care in the contract that we wanted, which was the transportation of our complex youth. Also $110 per hour, like the other rates that they have. The next one is Justice Works Youth Care Corporation, also an addendum to their existing contract. We are adding the program Seeking Safety, which is an evidence-based program designed to address substance abuse and work with individuals who have experienced trauma, and that is at $100 an hour. And then the other program that we're adding is prison visitation at $96.70 an hour. This is similar to their other program we already contract with called Just Care. They are just adding the component of being able to do prison visitation. And the last one is preventative aftercare. Again, it's an addendum to their already existing contract. We are adding Triple P, which is Positive Parenting Program. Also an evidence-based program, 10 to 15 weeks designed to work with parents and provide them the ability to put into practice strategies to help manage their child's behaviors and prevent additional problems from developing. And that is going to be invoiced at $43.21 per quarter hour. And I apologize, I don't know what happened to my camera, but it is on, but I know you can't see me.
That's okay. Thank you, Jamie. I do have one question related to the Adelphi Village contract. It in parentheses had indicated it's for males only. Is that a limitation on the facility? And do we have arrangements for female complex cases?
That is their particular criteria for Adelphi. It is just for males at this time. We're always searching for ones that can also help us out with our females, but for this particular program, it is just for males, yes.
Thank you. And Jamie, I had a question about the new Justice Works program.
Yes.
The prison visitation, is that for children that are visiting people in prison?
Yes, so they'll work specifically. We do have it set up already with another program, but that we're just adding them as an option. They'll work with Cumberland County Prison with their parents that are currently incarcerated, and they'll be able to go in and visit with them.
Good, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions or would someone like to?
No, I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 17, and I will call on Brooke Weary to discuss a grant acceptance for the Conservation District. Hello, Brooke.
Hi, good afternoon. You may recall last year I received approval to apply for a DEP Growing Greener Plus grant in the amount of $260,000 to complete a stream restoration project along the Big Spring Creek. This project is in partnership with the Fish and Boat Commission and Western PA Conservancy. I'm pleased to report that we were recently awarded the full grant amount. For this project, the county will serve primarily as a pass-through for the funding, and no general fund dollars will be used. Today, I am seeking approval to accept the grant and to receive the necessary signatures on the grant agreement. Let me know if you have any questions.
I do not have any.
No, I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Brooke, thanks, Brooke.
That takes us to agenda item 18, and I will call on Brenda Eiliff to discuss the contracts for drug and alcohol. Good afternoon, Brenda.
Good afternoon and good afternoon, commissioners. I'm here to discuss several contracts that we have, 3 different ones where the prices have increased. You were presented with some others earlier that were on the earlier agenda that went through with no increases. The 3 that I'm here to present are 3 residential programs. And the reason for the price increases are salary and benefit increases for the most part. The first one to speak to is the Gaudenzia Incorporated treatment programs. They have several residential programs, including women and children's programs. Their rates have increased for some of these up to 20% from last year. The piece is these are residential programs or withdrawal management programs where, as you know, when you're talking medical personnel, the rates are increasing. Probably the biggest one to highlight is their withdrawal management and or detox, which went from $275 a day to $330 a day, which is a 20% increase. The next one is Roxbury Treatment Center, which is part of UHS of Pennsylvania. Their rates in one area went up 12%, and that was for residential treatment program. And again, it was salary and benefit increases. I will say that these two treatment centers are still less than the next provider that I'm going to be sharing on, and that's White Deer Run. Their rates in some areas went up 6%. And that's about $18 a day from where they were earlier. Many of their areas went up 0. The treatment programs bill us per day or per session, or like if they're, for some people, they might be in 3 times a week, but generally it's a per diem though when you're talking about residential. But then there's many different levels of care, starting with detox, moving to less structured programming. So I'm here to request that those 3 contracts would be approved. Any questions?
I do not, Brenda. If any of my colleagues do, or I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. That takes us to agenda item 19, and I will call on Eric Radnovich to discuss a contract and a grant for the District Attorney's Office FID. Good afternoon, Eric.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. 2 items on my agenda today are for Dynex Corporation for $12,930.59. It's a service contract for one of our blood instruments in the laboratory for doing DUI and DUID testing. Do you want me to?
Anyone have questions on that? Guess we can move to the next one.
Okay, the next one is we want to apply for a grant to the U.S. Department of Justice, programs for $700,000 for a NIBIN system for the gun lab. It's an integral part of what the lab will need to continue to go forward and get out of county contracts. It essentially covers most of the cost of a NIBIN unit. The NIBIN quote that we got was $714,000. The grant taps out at 700,000, so we'll have to work with the vendor somehow to make that work. But I'm requesting permission to apply for that grant.
Eric, we received some supplementary information to this request, and I had a lot of concerns about ancillary costs related if we should be successful to be awarded this $700,000. So I see we have the district attorney here. I didn't know if you were planning to make any comments or any education on this.
No, I was here to try to answer any questions you had. In addition, I'm not as I've indicated, I've had some interest from other counties about with the firearms lab, once the firearm lab gets up and running, for us to process their firearms, not only just through the ballistics lab, but also through DNA, fingerprint, those sorts of things. One of the questions that keeps coming up is, are we going to have NIBIN as part of our firearms lab? Originally, NIBIN was part of the original grant that we were going to seek, but as we've discussed in the past, with building overruns and some of those different costs that were unexpected, that was cut out of the original plan for the lab. We still have the space and all set aside where the NIBIN would be. The NIBIN, what I envision creating is, for the firearms section in particular, a regional approach to it, to bring in the other counties as part of this. And with this particular grant, in addition to getting the NIBIN, what we would be doing is creating an intelligence section with the 6 counties, Dauphin, Cumberland, Adams, Perry, Franklin, and York, counties. And what I'm hoping to do is to attract those counties to utilize the firearms lab. Currently, there is no NIBIN in central Pennsylvania. If a police department wants to, and maybe if I take a step back, what NIBIN is, as I compare it a lot to the fingerprints, the APHIS fingerprint system. So if we take a fingerprint, it goes into the national database and it'll kick out that this is probably the person whose fingerprint this is. When there is a shooting and a shell casing is left behind, that shell casing leaves certain marks from the firearm on it. And the NIBIN system digitizes those unique characteristics, uploads it into the system, much like you would a fingerprint. And then what it does is it tells you that, hey, this casing that was found at a scene in Carlisle is related to a scene that occurred in York County. What it does is it enables us to, as I said, regionalize, to be able to link crimes that are occurring. As I say all the time, criminals don't care about our jurisdictional lines. They will come across, they will do whatever they're going to do and go back to where they are. So this is something that I believe will make our lab much more, in fact, when York County came and visited last month, one of their key concerns was, are you going to have NIBIN? This is what they were telling me, drive down to Philadelphia, and if we didn't have to go all the way down to Philadelphia, if we could bring it up to York County and bring the firearm and do, a one-stop shop, that's really what's best for us. What I am hoping, and I don't have any agreements at this point in time, but what I'm hoping is that we would be able to contract with some of these other counties to share the costs of NIBIN to be able to make it more cost efficient for us.
Sean, that's where my concerns lie. I don't see anything in the documentation that I reviewed about a cost share that that Cumberland County would be taking on a lot of responsibility and work obligations, and that I don't even know that we have data on yet to understand what that looks like. I mean, have we processed anything through the gun lab at this time?
We have started processing guns, yes.
Do we know like how long it takes, how many people, the hours,
Eric, do you know how long?
No, we're just getting started now. I haven't developed enough data yet from the weapons we've done just to get a timeline. I'd like to get a couple of months of data under my belt before I answer that question, if that's possible.
And that's my concern. I feel like this is putting the cart before the horse in some respects. We haven't even really gotten up and running to know what we would be taking on. And when I saw what the information that I reviewed, it just looked like a fair amount of, and I get it that other counties would be really interested to have us do their work for them, but my interest is also representing the taxpayers of Cumberland County. And this lab, while we're very proud of it and it does great work, is not a mandated service, and it does require county funding to operate. So I mean, I have concerns surrounding not having enough detail as to what this would all mean for us in Cumberland, and I don't want to be caught in the 11th hour having to plow more money into something that I don't know that I fully feel that I believe is fully worked out. I will defer to my colleagues if they have any questions or comments related to this.
Who are you said 6 counties? Dauphin, Cumberland, Adams, Perry, York. Who is the 6th?
Cumberland.
Right.
Franklin, yes. And we have letters of support from each of the counties. I'm still waiting for the letter of support from Dauphin County, but I have a verbal.
And so you have letters of support. Who signed them?
From the district attorneys. We also have a letter of support from PCCD. The executive director of PCCD. We already have a prior approval and an MOU with ATF And ATF kind of controls where NIBIN goes, and ATF is certainly interested in having NIBIN in central Pennsylvania. Because
Sean, I apologize. I don't recall signing an MOU with ATF.
that was something that was signed when we were going through the original
Okay,
gun
okay.
lab.
This feels like such a rock and a hard place for a variety of reasons. I know that NIBIN, how important NIBIN is. You cannot listen to a real crime podcast that involves gun and not hear about the importance of NIBIN in tracking down a perpetrator. I know it's really important. Sean, I don't know that having a letter of support from a DA means that any county has the authority to enter into this kind of an agreement. I suppose if we had the support from the boards of commissioners of these other 5 counties, I would feel a lot better about this. But right now, you don't have that. And that is an issue. I appreciate all of the work that has been done, but Eric has said, you just got up and running. He doesn't have enough information. He said not enough data. I don't know yet. I don't know how this will work out. It's too bad this could not have been included in that original grant.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, it's something that I'm going to continue to pursue. At this point in time, this is an opportunity to get this particular instrument in our lab. It will certainly, there's been a lot of discussion about monetizing the lab. This is certainly something that is an investment in monetizing it. I'm not looking to take guns from other counties and do that work for free. That is something certainly we plan on charging them. Whether I'm able to do it through a contract with each county for perhaps to split the cost of NIBIN, or an individual that would be hired to work that NIBIN. There's also been discussions as to whether ATF would put a person into the lab to work the NIBIN, and we wouldn't have that cost. I recognize some of those things are questions that are unanswered, and I recognize the concerns that you have. But I also believe that this is something that positions our lab to do the things that you have asked me to do, which is to seek out. I have reached the point where the lab is now equipped, and we now have a person who is a firearms expert working at the lab, and he has passed his initial certifications to be able to work. We're so early in that process that certainly I haven't been able to enter into any contracts or, get that far into discussions. But as I indicated, we have hosted both Dauphin County and York County. York County was the York Police plus the York County District Attorney's Office. The commissioners in those counties, certainly, if we're going to contract, would be the contracting persons. Whether the DA's office decides to send the firearms to our lab or not, I believe that would be the decision of the district attorney's office, whether they're going to send it to us or not, because they're going to get it, whether they send it to the Pennsylvania State Police or they send it to us. I think the advantage that we have in Cumberland County is our lab is willing to take those firearms and do a full processing. That is not just the ballistics, but also fingerprint, DNA, all of those different things that the Pennsylvania State Police, who might take 9-10 months to do a firearm in and by itself, don't do that combination. If we add NIBIN to that process, I think we make ourselves in a position that we are going to be able to recoup. And I certainly understand the concern. I'm a taxpayer in this county also, so I'm always concerned about the money that's being spent. But I think we'll be able to recoup a portion of the expenditures that we're putting out as a county.
So Sean, you just said something very important to me, that this whole process, you want to take on more work. And I feel like, again, it's like cart before the horse. Is this funding of something that's typically available every year? Is it a pot of money that we could approach at another time? And I can appreciate the collaboration with the other counties and how much this would aid in prosecution. But our lab was originally established, it's my understanding, I wasn't here, by Skip Ebert to help advance our prosecution of our cases in Cumberland County. And we've developed this very large capacity now. But some of the data that was provided, York and Harrisburg alone, I guess in the last 2 years had 892 firearms related incidents. That's about 450 a year. And in working days, that's almost 2 per day. And if you're talking about one expert or people taking this through that long process, I have a concern that we're going to quickly find ourselves requiring more staff and more cost of the operation, that we just we don't have a handle on at this juncture as to what that will look like.
I think the best example is the contract we have with the Department of Corrections. The Department of Corrections has assisted us in getting equipment in our lab to process for drug testing. And the Department of Corrections has taken on the staffing responsibility and those expenses. That would be the process that I would be seeking to follow through with. Eric, do you know if this grant is every year or?
I have not seen a NIBIN grant prior to this. It doesn't mean they don't come up again, and it doesn't mean they don't come up again in a different form. This one is specifically targeted to NIBIN, but there are other DOJ and NIJ grants that are more general, and you could apply as well. But I've never seen a NIBIN only grant like this one before. But they come out of the wind. There's never really a rhyme or reason to how they come up.
When is this due for this grant?
What's the due date?
April, hang on here, April 6th, I think. Let me look. Hang on.
April 6th.
So I'm just going to ask a question.
This one is bothering me tremendously. I've been incredibly supportive of the lab. I will continue to be incredibly supportive of the lab. But we are now on another incredibly tight time frame. And I don't have enough information to make this decision. So I don't know. I don't know how I can move this forward today. I hate leaving money on the table, but I don't know what spending this money means. We get this money, we spend it. Does it mean then that we're spending this kind of money all of the time out of the general fund? I have serious concerns about it. The board has been working with superintendents of school districts in Cumberland County about programs that students need, that the county can no longer afford to just fund them on our own. Like, this is a lot of money for something that I think I know needs more thought. It's tough for me to say that, Sean, but that's where I'm at.
No, I saw this opportunity. We tried to put this together. If we're not able to get it at this point in time, I certainly understand you guys have responsibilities that are a little bit different than mine. And so I found this opportunity. I tried to pursue it. I think it's a piece of equipment that ultimately we're going to need at our lab. I think this is an opportunity to get that piece of equipment and pay for almost the entire thing. There are other costs that go with that, and I recognize that. And there are questions that I, at this point in time, don't have answers for. But everybody knows sometimes when these grants come out, you don't have a lot of time to put together a lot of stuff. And you're putting a lot of effort in the front end of it, to writing the grant, getting the statistics, putting that stuff together. that sometimes there are going to be questions that you just can't answer. So, I mean, I don't have any hard feelings, but this is something I think
Well,
is
Sean,
an
can I ask
opportunity.
you and Eric one question though, because I heard a couple of different things. If this were just a piece of equipment for our lab, if it were just, this is $700,000, we're getting a piece of equipment that's gonna help us do the job that we've already committed money to, putting forward with the lab, particularly the firearm lab, that is a different case.
Right.
What I see is us taking on a whole bunch of work with other counties that we haven't even figured out how we can manage it ourselves. Can this application be written that the intent is for us to get the piece of equipment, and if, we would work collaboratively ultimately with the other counties as we could, or sharing that information once we established what that looked like and the cost involved and their willingness to share in those costs of managing the information and the casings and the guns and all of that.
Yeah, I don't know if I confuse things. I'm not saying that I intend on taking every gun that every county in the region had. This whole NIBIN thing is more than just us processing guns. The grant itself also encourages us to work very closely, have monthly meetings with these other counties to look into gun crimes, to add intelligence to it's a multidisciplinary approach to gun crime in central Pennsylvania. The processing of it, and NIBIN kind of is the thing that pulls it all together. So I'm not saying that we're going to pull in every handgun, 800 different handguns or shootings or something like that. I've always said that the crimes that occur in Cumberland County get first priority. And if we are, because we do take work at our lab from other counties sometimes and federal agencies sometimes, but we don't take that work to the exclusion of our own work that we have here in Cumberland County. That's always going to be the priority of the lab. So if that's the concern, that's certainly not what we're going to be. That's not what I envision with this whole thing.
Yeah, and that's not the way I read this, quite frankly. I read this as these other counties have an equal stake in this process, and they have an equal stake in, the rules that are established. And I don't know that we would have the right, I did not get the impression we would have the right to pick and choose. That this is a grouping that we were committing to, and in somewhere I saw 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. So all of these commitments.
And that's talking about the shell casings.
Yeah.
Which is different than the firearm.
Which makes it very difficult to make a decision, because if we enter into this agreement for a grant for this, and then we have all of these other conditions that are not clear, like they're just not clear to me right now. And then we're paying OT, and then we're hiring other people. And then we've got other counties involved, and we've got, demands of those other counties. Then we're talking about a whole different ballgame. This is not just a piece of equipment. It seems to come with some strings attached. And if I'm wrong, Sean, now's the time to tell me.
No, I mean,
That's what
I don't know about the strings attached, but I mean, it certainly is a piece of equipment that is part of a bigger program. And I think it's a good program. I think the anytime we're encouraging, I think we spend way too much time within our own silos. We spend too much time within our own jurisdictions, and we're so focused on that. We're not focused on the things that are occurring. We're not focused on gunmen that are coming from Philadelphia and going into Shippensburg and shooting people in Shippensburg. We're not concerned about people that come up from York County that have committed crimes here and go back. We have people coming in from other states that are robbing us blind in our stores. So, that's the approach, and that's that's the perspective that I come from. And, sometimes, I totally understand the focus has to be on Cumberland County. But I think in helping out the region, we wind up helping out our citizens here in Cumberland County. If we're able to stop people who are committing crimes and have a propensity to travel to commit those crimes from coming into Cumberland County, that would be my goal.
And Sean, I don't disagree with that goal at all. I support that goal wholeheartedly. I just don't want it to come on at the cost of the Cumberland County taxpayer to support this infrastructure for every other county without some understanding that they're going to reimburse us costs in this process and what those costs are. So I completely agree with you and support that kind of regional approach. Again, I don't know that I have enough information. If I'm misunderstanding this, the way this is written, this can be just a piece of equipment that we would apply for our purposes, that with the intent that we would engage and get that data. That's a different.
It's a whole different ballgame. That becomes a very different decision on my part, right?
But I think what makes it difficult is if we ultimately want to purchase NIBIN and there isn't a grant available, and we're talking about engaging other counties to partner with us on that. Given the expense of this piece of equipment, are we going to be able to get other counties to participate in the purchase of that? Whereas here, we are purchasing the equipment and cooperating with other counties and hopefully drawing in their business. I think it makes us more marketable to the other counties to join us in partnerships. And yes, I don't have those partnerships or contracts. I'm so early in the process of discussing it with some of the other counties, but I think it is something that positions us to be able to accomplish that.
And Sean, I'm not looking for our lab to be a cost center of, a profit center for the county. My whole concern in this is that we try and cover as many costs as we can for the agencies that we're doing work with. And I think Eric has done that with the contract with the Department of Corrections, just to make sure that our costs are covered for the work that we're doing that is outside of our primary function of that lab for the residents of Cumberland County. And I'm attracting business is not necessarily my highest priority. It's if we take on business that it absolutely covers the cost of providing that for people outside of Cumberland County.
And I'm saying the same thing. I may be expressing it in a different way, but I'm not looking to make a profit in the lab. I'm not looking to make the lab this big money-making machine. But if we can find ways to subsidize the costs that we are spending on the lab, we have that reputation that you have talked about, that a statewide reputation, a reputation that when the governor's mansion is firebombed, they are calling our lab to help process. That's not a minor reputation. That is a really strong reputation statewide. And I think this helps us position us to the next level. So.
And while again, I respect that we did that, and it was, I'm sure, very, very helpful to the speed of prosecution as it relates to that case. We can't do that across 6 counties anytime that they would need us necessarily to the detriment of our work. And that's what I'm afraid of with this on some level. The way that it's being billed, all 6 counties, the way that I reviewed it is all 6 counties work day one. In this collaboration. Gary, do you have any questions or that you would like to?
Say I'm in general agreement. It seems to me to be an underdeveloped plan. A lot of questions clearly, and once again, no time for questions. So it does not have my support. What I've seen so far looks like a change in the character of the facility and the nature of the obligation, but we don't know. So right now, I couldn't support this.
Keith, have you by chance seen this grant agreement?
Yes.
And are we understanding this correctly? I know I really put you on the spot and been like, can you please remember, would you please remember whatever you've read? Like, I mean, and you married a million things, like, can you please go into your file and pull that out and tell me? But if this were a grant agreement where we're getting NIBIN for Cumberland County and that's it, I think that walking away from this would be silly. But with all these other pieces that are swirling, it's problematic.
I understand what the board is saying, each one of you, and I understand what Sean is saying. And there are big differences. I don't think there's any question. It is a large investment of money. It is based upon possible future use by other counties. And you don't have the information, so I understand what you're all saying, to make a decision because it could be an expense without a benefit.
So if this were just a piece of equipment that we were applying for the county, and this was written in that vein, and they just ended up giving, even though they want to encourage regionalization, but if we applied as just this equipment for us, and that may not even be possible. I read through some of it. I did not read through all the detail of the grant.
I don't know if that's possible.
Okay. If that were possible, and Eric, I don't know if you know off the top of your head if that would be possible. What would be the best action for us to take at this time? Table this until that kind of evaluation could be made to bring it back?
Well, the grant was bolstered by cooperation by neighboring counties. You know, the obligation is on Cumberland, but the grant was bolstered by getting surrounding counties to join in with us because it makes it more of a regional approach, and that's what the DOJ is looking for maximum bang for their buck. I don't know what that obligates us to in terms of like the DOJ and using the NIBIN for the other counties. In terms of the grant being due, it's due April the 6th. It was released in the middle of February. So the typical of the grant time, it's a short stack time. So we packed a lot into a small period of time. But I think at the end of the day, the only obligation we have is to Cumberland County and not unless we, do an actual MOU with the neighboring counties. I don't think we owe anything to them until we actually get an MOU from them to do the work.
I am not a member of the bar. I am not an attorney in any way, shape, or form. But implementation of a new CGIC. So, and I'm getting into category 2 here. Applicants of either category could propose a regional approach. And it's could propose by including surrounding jurisdictions as sub-grantees or providing them NIBIN access. The regional approach is strongly recommended. I would really like to know what that means. If we can just, I mean, to walk away from this grant.
This is something that we could use and then,
Yes.
and with the intention of seeking to be collaborative. Once we get our house in order, and if we can do it at a pace in which we can sustain and support, and people are agreeable to covering their fair share of costs in this. I mean, that's the question I have. So.
And I guess my question is, if we are to take a step back, is it possible, given the time frame of meetings and those sorts of things, to take a step back and still proceed with this particular grant in the time frame that's available?
I would defer to you on the meeting schedule. I apologize. I don't know it off the top.
So, and I would like the solicitor
Yeah.
to make sure that what I'm saying is appropriate. We do not have another public meeting until April 8th. That's the next public meeting. if you were able to view any updated documents, I believe you could, you know what I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
that you could review those documents and make a decision and reaffirm on April 8th.
I'd like to have follow-up on this, that, like, I don't want to walk away from this. That Nibbin is important, Sean. I know it is, and at the inception of this project, that was a piece of it, and it was part of it. It was a very important piece of it. So I'd like to know, are the strings really attached? And that could easily, that could very much change my decision, my opinion on it.
Yeah,
I mean, we gotta
I'm
move
willing to
fast,
do
yeah.
what I can.
Keith, then what would the best action to be, table or
You have to table
table?
So we've got two things,
Yes,
to
we
move-
have
two
one,
different
yeah.
things to move on, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So I will move to approve the Dynex Technologies service coverage maintenance for instruments.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. And I am going to move to table the potential grant agreement for Nibbin.
In the amount of 700,000.
Okay.
I'll second that. Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Was that no opposed or no, I'm not opposed?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm voting opposed to it. I don't think it should be tabled.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to the next item, juvenile probation.
So we have Scott Shea here to cover.
Yes, we're just asking for signatures for an affiliation agreement with Commonwealth University to allow for an intern to join us this summer. That's it. Commonwealth University is a combination of Bloomsburg now, Bloomsburg, Lock Haven, and Mansfield. And they're a conglomerate now. As of this graduating class this year, it's going to be Bloomsburg, but after that, it'll be Commonwealth University for 5 years.
Thanks. Okay, great. Thank you, Scott.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 21, and I will call on Miranda Melton to discuss the contracts for MHIDD. Good afternoon, Miranda.
Good afternoon. I have 2 contracts for you today. Both are increases for our current fiscal year. The first is for early intervention services. This is for Aspirations. They provide nutrition support for us, also occupational, physical, and speech therapies, as well as special instruction. This increase is due to the need to provide additional services. This is an increase of $61,989. The second contract you have is for Alliance for Nonprofit Resources. They do our IDD certified investigations. And again, just needing to add those additional services. This is an increase of $13,091. Can I answer any questions for you?
Thank
I
you.
move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 22, and I will call on Stacy Snyder to discuss the contracts for Pony.
I'm covering these for Elizabeth Grant, and she provided me a wealth of information. So we'll start
She
with.
always does.
Yes, and
She
oh dear,
always
they're
does.
not put in the same order, so I will roll with it. So the Borough of Carlisle contract, it's a $200,000 contract for the Orange Street Basin project. This project is to improve urban stormwater management by converting a dry detention basin to a wet retention pond to reduce nutrients and sediment and to improve urban green infrastructure, enhance community open space, and promote environmental stewardship and mitigate area flooding. The next contract is an addendum with HRG. This contract is for $120,800 for the Climate Action Plan Coordination Services for 2026. It includes assistance with outreach and partner collaboration, visual communications and promotion, and clean water grant program administration support services. Additionally, for 2026, a comprehensive stream delisting strategy and partner coordination will assist county partners with focusing project priorities on project types and stream segments with greatest potential for being removed from federal impaired water lists. Next, we have a contract with the Borough of Lemoyne. This is a $71,000 project for the Pear Street drainage project. This project includes the installation of a storm sewer system and an infiltration trench in an area that is currently without this infrastructure. The project will reduce sediment and provide flooding mitigation in an area that is very susceptible during storm events. Next, we have the Lower Allen Township contract. It's a $178,006 project for the manor at Westport Basin retrofit project. This project retrofits a dry detention basin to a bioretention basin to improve the runoff discharge to the impaired Cedar Run watershed, reducing nutrients and sediment and increasing permeability. And last, we have the Middle Spring Watershed Association contract. This is a $26,170 amount for the Martin Avenue Stormwater BMP project, Best Management Practices project. This project includes the installation of a stormwater treatment filter and a green buffer space as part of an overall stormwater management improvement project, which will remove sediment, nutrients, and other urban pollutants discharging into Middle Spring Creek, and will be installed as part of a larger project, including educational signage to highlight these enhancements. Are there any questions?
Stacy, the only comment I would add is all of those are state or federal funding that this is not general fund dollars going into. So anyone would like to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 That takes us to agenda item 23, and I will call on Trevor Bailey to discuss a contract addendum for the business.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have a 3-year extension with DSI ITI doing business as Biopath Technologies. The contract ends at the end of this year. We would like to extend it now and to be in compliance with a 2025 SCC order that takes effect April 6th. In quick summary, that basically says we can't have commissions anymore. We found some things to kind of supplement the missing revenue in the terms of this agreement. If anybody has any questions on it, I would love to answer them. Otherwise, we are asking for your approval today.
I do not have any questions.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 24, and I will call on Montana Hartman to discuss the contracts with Clerk Secretary's office.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Here on behalf of the Secretary's office to present 2 addendums to the Paperless Solutions contract. The first one is a necessary expense that will make scan text documents viewable on our on-base viewer. Without this, the previous work scan tech would be done, we made use of this. This fee is due to utilizing a third-party company for our scanning. Had we used paperless, the fee would have been about 50% more. This import cost is a one-time fee of $4,950.
Okay, thank you.
The second one is a criminal judgment tool that automates the process of filing criminal judgments from the clerk of court's office. Denny is on board. It doesn't add to his workload, but instead eliminates the need for his staff to pull reports, saving about 16 hours a month of data entry and eliminating the potential for human errors on both sides. It'll pull information directly from the Court of Common Pleas case management system. The process is modeled after the existing process, ensuring a smooth transition. Judgments will be made available immediately. The current process involves the clerk, of course, running a multi-page report from the Court of Common Pleas case management system and producing a check getting it each month to our office. We receive and report the check, and our staff spends about 9 hours over 2 to 3 days manually checking each case to determine which docket numbers are associated with criminal docket numbers, and then 6 hours inputting payment information to our own docket, which takes them entirely away from all other office filings. This new process would eliminate all of that except for the check portion, which is about a 5-minute process. And this is a one-time fee of $1,650.
Very good. And it appears that this is coming out of your automation funding. Is that correct? Montana?
Should.
It appears that both are. So that's good, and it will help streamline the office and save time and money for you, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any questions of Montano?
I move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 25, and I will call on Claudia Garner to discuss the contract and grant for public safety. Good afternoon, Claudia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Public safety has 4 things on your agenda today. First is we're asking for your approval of the renewal of a 1-year agreement with Eaton Corporation. That's for the service and preventative maintenance on our uninterrupted power supply. There we go. This is a decrease of approximately $5,000 from the current agreement, and that's because we worked with facilities and replaced the flywheels. So that came off a contract agreement. This contract renewal does include a 30% discount on all the spare parts, field upgrades, and time and material. And like I said, it's a 1-year contract in the amount of $12,407. The second thing is we're asking for you to accept the Radiological Emergency Response Fund, known as RERF grant agreement for 25 through 27. This is in the amount of $29,183, and this has an unusual performance period. It's from October of 25 through June of 27. They're playing catch up because we didn't have any grant funding because TMI was closing. So this is the grant that provides all of the funding to develop and maintain the emergency response plans identified with the surrounding areas for the Crane Clean Energy Center, formerly known as TMI, nuclear plant. We are requesting a motion for your approval to accept that grant agreement in the amount of $29,183. The third item is permission to apply for a grant, and that is the fiscal year 26-27 Hazardous Materials Response Fund, known as HMRF grant. That is state funding from PEMA, and the funding amount is to be determined. It's based on the subject of availability of the funds through the state program, and that's determined later in the year. By the time we get our grant agreement, obviously we'll have that dollar amount. It has a performance period of July 1 of 26 through June of 27. Just for reference, last year it was 23,000. This funding is used to enhance the planning and training for the emergency responses to hazardous materials incidents. Along with the grant application is the hazmat assessment. I'm not sure if it's in front of you today, but it is attached to our application. And that gives a good synopsis of what the hazardous materials are that move in and out of the county. Remember, we did the commodity flow study that all couples into the information that's put into the assessment. And the last item on the list for today is asking for your approval to engage in a 1-year license agreement with Viola Water Pennsylvania Incorporated. This is for public safety to establish a tower site location atop of a water tank located in Upper Allen Township. This site is needed to support the P25 public safety radio infrastructure, and it has a fee of $1 per month, $12 per year. It's probably the least expensive contract I've ever presented to you. But and this will auto renew every year then.
Thank you, Claudia. We should thank Viola for that break on the lease expense. We appreciate that.
And I move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 26, and I will call on Katie Zimmerman to discuss a grant application for the sheriff's office. Katie?
Hello, I'm requesting permission to apply for a $5,000 grant, which we will use to purchase CPR and first aid training equipment for the sheriff's office when they train their own folks, as well as other county employees.
I move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you, Katie. And that concludes the contract and grant section. I'll turn it back over to you, Katie.
Thank you, Angela. That takes us to agenda item 27, which is discussion and approval of a capital project request for ERP. We've got Robert Garner waiting patiently to present.
Good afternoon, commissioners. This capital project request is to replace our existing clocks. Is in the amount of $24,740. It's for 10 of the UKG smart clocks, so they are more secure, which will support more badge formats as we get more secure badges. These clocks, or existing clocks, do end support the end of this year. And this cost includes about a 60% discount. That discount, as we've been told by our UKG rep, they anticipate losing the ability to discount clock purchases at the end of this month. So the base price of the clock without the discounting is approximately $5,500. And on the quote we were given, it was for $2,174. The additional is 12 months of maintenance for all the clocks.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions for Robert?
No, I move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Next, we have a capital project request to be discussed and approved. For the board's decision, of course, for facilities management. We've got Brent Durham joining us online to discuss. Hi, Brent.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As you're aware, our plan is to merge the adult probation department from 2 facilities to 1 located at 1100 Claremont Road. This capital project request is in the amount of $55,000 and it'll be used to prepare the facility prior to moving. We'll be patching and painting the entire building. That hasn't been completed in 17 years. There's a small amount of flooring that will be replaced. The rest of that will be repaired. A large percentage of this project is actually security enhancements. I won't elaborate on what they are. Retaining wall outside is getting repointed, new caps. There's lots of shrubbery that we'll be removing outside for security purposes. We have a plan in place. We've worked closely with Darby to get that plan finalized, and we're ready to roll once we get your approval.
Brent, just work your magic and bring it in less. You have a good record of doing that, I think, so.
We'll try.
Well, you'll try, right?
Yep.
I move to approve.
I say.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now, these folks have been very patient.
Yes. Yes. We do have a quarterly presentation by Ag Extension. We have Ann Miller right here. We got it started.
It was so thrilling, I tell you. I gotta go back and Google so much when I get to the office. Thank you. We thought we'd highlight 4-H today since we had the recognition of our wonderful volunteers. So I'll let Tina do that, and I just have a couple updates for you on what we're doing at the extension. We have set up a quarterly schedule that kind of aligns with our programming a little bit this year, a little bit different than what we've done. So in our June, we'll have our master gardeners here to really show you what they have been doing, what they will do. And then our programming year kind of runs more for 4-H towards the school year. So we'll have Tina come back in September, and then we'll do a year-end report for you. So we worked out that with Casey and Kirk, but do you need to?
It's okay. So we sent the report previously of where we're at for numbers. As Annie said, our year is more on the school year. So our members started renewing in October, and they still have several more months. We're currently at 234 members that are active. We have several other applications in progress. And we're about 40 short of where we ended in October. So I can see we'll probably catch up and be where we were the same place last year. On the report, I sent you a highlighted story of some members of ours that went to the state leadership conference. Those are young ladies that are involved in several different clubs. We have a horse club member, a goat club member, a creative expressions member, and another horse member. And 2 of those young ladies are also on our teen leadership council that helps work with me and do leadership projects and take information back to their club about what's happening in the county, and then bring thoughts and ideas from their clubs to the office to share. So they had a really good time, learned a lot of things, met new friends from other counties, and it's always a highlight to get to go to State College with these kids. And this is when the state council is announced each year, and it's quite exciting. One of the girls came back and said, I want to be on state council when I'm old enough. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start working on that now. So it's kind of cool. I've spent a lot of time visiting classrooms this spring. I have 32 classrooms of embryology that we're going to be picking up the chicks from the second half of them this Friday. Yes, it's very exciting. Actually, Secretary Redding visited one of our classrooms last week. He was there and saw the classroom in Highland that has embryology going on over in West Shore School District. So I was looking on the Facebook post for pictures from, I was like, show him with the eggs, but there weren't any pictures of that, but it was so kind of cool. Whenever I talk about doing my embryology, it feels like a lot of classrooms, and the number 32 sounds kind of big, but until I made the little bar chart, which I hope you enjoy the chicks there, that's when I realized, wow, it is a lot of classrooms. I don't have total numbers of students as of yet. We're still working on getting class numbers and certificates put together, but our next report will be able to tell you how many kids we impacted this year by teaching them about the development of a chicken from an egg and how the life cycle works for those. And hopefully to give them some more excitement about science and learning a bit more about agriculture. So we're keeping quite busy between classroom projects and clubs and activities. Do you have any questions about any of the specifics of any of that I gave you?
I should know this, but what is creative expressions?
That is one of our more community type clubs where the kids can come in and pick from a variety of projects. One of the things their leader says is anything but animals. That is one of our clubs that doesn't do animal projects. So Delilah there, she does sewing and in the past has done cooking. Those types of variety projects. They can do art projects, they can do STEM projects, a wide variety of finding your sparks of what makes you excited.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Tina, I was just going to thank you for the calendar. I have to make sure that I can get July 25th for the Shippensburg Fair,
Yes, plan ahead.
the auction. And at the Farm Bureau dinner the other night, they mentioned scholarships available, and your students are aware of that, or is that being pushed out to the seniors?
I haven't been notified of Farm Bureau scholarships, but I know some Farm Bureau folks. I'll have to reach out.
Is it conservation?
It's a collaboration with conservation.
Yes.
We do know about that, there is one, but
Okay.
yeah, we
Okay.
can, yeah.
$1,000.
I hadn't heard about it personally yet, but
They were
yeah.
they were
Okay.
trying to drum up some applicants for
Alright.
the,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
please. And I don't know if we have any for any of the other groups, but I think that might be it. It would be great.
I hadn't thought that conservation 4-H was a natural progression.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It is a very natural progression. And but you know, the conservation district does tremendous things to assist farmers, particularly with best management practices. So it's good. I'm enjoying that April 15th is the rabbit meat pen intent deadline mission. I have picked up the rabbit meat pen on more than one occasion.
Yes. If you plan to show one, you have to let them know by April 15th.
Yeah, I didn't know the timelines involved, but I've always been impressed with your students' ability to talk with adults, engage in conversation, and talk about their projects and what they're doing. And that's probably the most rewarding part of my engagement with the students that I've had. It's great to see that generation coming up. So thank you for the work.
Thank you.
And thank you for your investment. I think, I always say this, but you're preserving all this wonderful land, and these are the kids that are gonna come back and work it. They really are. So you saw today, we had 3 generations here.
Yes.
So, and sometimes 4, so it's really remarkable. Thank you. So just a couple other touch points from extension. So January to March is super busy for our educators, agronomy, horticulture. We've had 25 workshops or one-on-one visits with 10 different educators from across the state crossing into Cumberland, and those include pesticide testing, training, horticulture, agronomy analysis, soil and water. So that's a busy time period for us. And I don't think I have all that data just yet, because we've had educators out working that don't have time to go back and put in all their data, but I will have that for you shortly. As far as residents, it's been terrific. We've had 900 plus residents take webinars at Extension. I thought data centers would be the #1 topic. It's actually invasives. I think that's a big issue. I certainly, when I walk around, I see them, and so we have a lot of people interested, and then data centers, and then water and soil biochar was a really well-attended webinar for Cumberland residents. So, and we've had over 200 people attend in-person gatherings. So that's a pretty big accomplishment, I think, when you can sign up for a webinar in person. So, and I do have Ellie with us today, but we have a new class just about to finish here for Master Gardeners. So we have 156 volunteers, and I believe you said 20 have just completed their testing, and now they actually have a little small portion yet to become Master Gardeners, but we'll have 20 new residents here. Already through March, they have done 3,400 hours worth of volunteer work, which is really incredible. And Ellie gave me a complete list of all her programming, which I will share with you in the next couple days so that you can see. But they are doing pollinator garden kits, Mother's Day container workshop. There's a whole nature series at Frederickson Library, youth camps, vegetables, bees, and Ellie, I hope you don't mind if I put, what is zone pushing? So I know we've gone up a half a zone for planting.
The US hardiness zones and being able to push those and be able to accommodate a variety of plants. So things that typically would be grown in more southern environments due to climate change and various other residential concerns a property owner may have, being able to provide that type of program should allow them to understand what they could accommodate, especially if particular plants for colder zones are not working on their property, they would be able to shift those more southerly zones, northern. So, yep, all of that is one of 7 programs in the Guardian of Nature series.
Great. What questions do you have for us? If you don't have any, the data center thing was quite well done. That webinar was very well done.
And we have a whole series coming up. I think there's like 6 planned, and possibly some conference in Harrisburg. So as that becomes available to me, I'll let you know. But if you do need speakers, let us know. I'm really happy to provide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your patience.
Oh, I Niven, how do you say that?
Okay, that takes us then to agenda item 30, which is Commissioner's Liaison Reports, and Commissioner Major, that's for you.
Yes, over the last couple of weeks, I attended a few events. It was not as busy as normal, and I think that was because I was in a conference for a couple of days. So Commissioner Fashi and I attended the Carlisle Chamber event where we were, where Secretary Redding was addressing many of the issues that we're facing in Cumberland County. He's such a wonderful speaker. I was very happy to be there. Great guy too. I addressed a group of seniors at a church in Camp Hill and wanted to thank Annie Huff for all of the information regarding our program. She was unfortunately not able to make it with me, so I tried to pinch hit and hopefully did well enough. But it's always great to get out and talk with folks and hear their concerns. I did attend, and I believe Commissioner Fashi, I know I saw you there as well, and our chief clerk, the CCAP conference for a day and a half over this cycle. And for those of you who don't know, Senator Rothman's office, he is renting, I should say, space in our facility to meet with constituents. He will be here the 3rd Thursday of every month from 10 till noon. So if you have any needs that you want to take to staff within the senator's office, it's right here on this floor. So come on down the 3rd Thursday from 10 to noon. I attended the Asian Indian Americans of Central PA event at HAC. It was a lovely lunch and then a screening of the history of Bollywood, which was fascinating. And I don't know a lot about that theater, that film type, but it was I learned a bit. Additionally, I believe the board attended the Cumberland County Farm Bureau annual spring meeting. And Kate had a special meeting to simply review the audit. I did attend the Planning Commission meeting. Those notes will be on the site, available on our website. But it was a very light agenda where we approved 1 ASA submission for Monroe Township for 5 Way Partners Farm. And Kirk conducted a visioning exercise with the board, which he believes will provide the staff with some direction on areas to improve, engage, and explore as we go forward. I have to give a shout out for the planning department's YouTube channel. It is called Planning in Plain Sight. So if you go on YouTube, Google, or search through there, Planning in Plain Sight, you will see they've put up a number of, I believe there's 3 items up already. And one that's the most popular is meet a data center developer. And I think Elizabeth Grant may have a second career in interviewing if she conducted that interview very nicely. It is recorded there for folks to see. And then lastly, I will announce that our data center forum in conjunction with CADIC is slated to be on Wednesday, April 29th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. That is going to be only via Zoom or YouTube, and Zoom is limited to 500 participants. So if you are interested, I encourage you to please sign up. It's on the planning department's website, on the county website on the planning department's page. That is it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Foster.
Well, good afternoon, Cumberland County. I would remind you to use the Cumberland County Library System. There's just all kinds of fantastic things going on. The library system board did meet in the past 2 weeks, and I know that my colleagues receive all of those materials, and I'm sure that they review them. If they have any questions, they'll let Carolyn know. Yes, I attended the Ag Update breakfast with Commissioner Nieder. We were both at CCAP. Commissioner Nieder gave me this to announce the Citizens Emergency Response Team is doing a free basic training on accelerated emergency preparedness. So those events are in April 7th, April 9th, April 11th, and April 12th. So maybe we can get that out there and posted. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority met. And a couple of things came out of that meeting that I think are very, very important to highlight. So on the Section 8 housing voucher report, there are 3,333 people on the Section 8 housing voucher waitlist. That is a tremendous number of people that need affordable housing, that need Section 8 housing. And that's just in the county, in Cumberland County. In Perry County, that's 981 people that are on that list. So housing continues to be a tremendous issue. The board also approved the annual PHA plan, which is the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development public housing plan. And the board finally, they also approved a cooperation agreement between the Redevelopment Authority and Newport Senior Housing LP. And that looks like that will be very promising. The Conservation District met last night. So Envirothon is April 29th at Pine Grove Furnace. One of the really cool things about Envirothon is all of these great high school students from around the area come and compete. And I had the pleasure of being at the high school career program presentations that was held on Monday out at Allen Road. So this was our team of 3 high school students who went ahead, they visited, I believe it was 8, but it seemed like way more than 8 county departments and reported on it. But one of those students was also an Envirothon participant. So they did a great job with their presentations, but it was nice to know that one of those students also was really into conservation. The tree seedling sale will be Thursday, April 16th and Friday, April 17th. So the deadline to buy tree seedlings has ended, but the sale is coming up. Sometimes they have extras, right, Jean? Sometimes they do have extras. So if you wanted to drive out there, you might be able to pick up an extra. But I don't know. So last night at Conservation District, the National Resources Conservation Service was there. Justin Atkins was there. He runs the local office. And first of all, we couldn't ask for a better representative from the federal government in Justin. He just is he's so detailed and dedicated. But he has a local working group community assessment for fiscal year 26. And what they're really asking for is, if you engage in these conservation projects with the federal government through NRCS, what do you think of them? And he is really looking for some more responses. So Samantha, I don't know if that's something that we would want to help conservation pop out or not, but it would be a good thing to do. And I think that's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks.
Commissioner.
Thanks here. Solid waste, the March 3rd meeting was not held. I believe that was weather related. It was moved to April 7th, so that's I'm sure to be there. Household hazardous waste event 2 weeks from tomorrow. There's 325 spots that are filled out of the 400, and they're fast. So we were going to rush on those at the last minute as well, but that continues obviously to be a very popular event. Judging some numbers on the electronics recycling, the tonnage was down, or poundage, I guess, was down in February prior to weather related to 865, and it bounced back very nicely in March, 1,405 pounds per day. So that continues to be a service that the public values. We had Blight Board last week, and just a couple of items on that. It was the board reorganized, did its annual reorganization, and is keeping the current officer positions in place for a year. And of course, they confirmed the reappointments to those seats for the board, including myself, Lou Martin, and Matt Fisher. So that was formalized. They had a number of sites that they addressed through their process. The old Diamond Hotel, which has become problematic. Apparently that has had its mortgage purchased by a new owner, and Middlesex Township is going to be getting involved in that. So more development on that anticipated in the near future. Also, one new referral, 17 Timber Road, Mechanicsburg, that has been tabled for a month, and as tends to happen in these, the search for an owner or a family member from the previous owner can be very time consuming and difficult, and that's where they are on that one, trying to determine exactly who we need to be dealing with to move that property forward. Also 210 Center Street, which has been on the list for a while. It's going to be forwarded on to county planning next month. So that will complete the blight process, and then that gets referred back to redevelopment authority. So it's well down the road toward being addressed. Michaela said there's going to be several referrals coming in too from Mechanicsburg Borough, and there's the department is very hands-on with the borough. Currently, they have a number of properties that have been in discussion for a while. So they're looking to get some action underway on those. And let's see here. We received a pretty good update from mental health at the Human Services Policy Team meeting earlier this week. I don't need to repeat a bunch of those things. So, but a handful of items are worth mentioning too is the staff's been participating in the inpatient licensing visit at Holy Spirit, Penn State Holy Spirit this past week, along with the Department of Health. So with the sale of the Psychiatric Institute, Holy Spirit is now completing renovations at their campus to add an additional 85 psychiatric inpatient beds, and that's in addition to the 31 that they are currently managing. So capacity is being addressed. Of course, you're all aware that Scott Searing, the CEO of the area collaborative for behavioral health, is retiring after 28 years. That search for his replacement is already underway. Crisis intervention team is providing additional training to 911 teams. At the end of January, there was a total of 18 dispatchers were trained in a session there, and the next 40-hour crisis intervention team training is scheduled for May 18th through the 22nd. That course is already full, so there's obviously demand there. The next steering committee will not be until this is January 22nd, I believe, but I'll double check on that. They continue to be very engaged in making sure that crisis training is available to folks on the ground who are front lines of that. The regional long-term structured residency program that we've been working on for a while. I believe Annie said that the groundbreaking is scheduled for April 1. We'll be hearing more about that soon. That is the Cumberland, Perry, Franklin, and Fulton counties are involved in that. Let's see what else we got here. I did check in with Mark Evans over at IDD Intellectual Disabilities. He did give me a little bit of an update. Staff's been participating in the Eastern Cumberland County Special Education Regional Consortium Parent Engagement Night. That was at Mountain View Middle School, hosted by CV School District, but it was also for families in Camp Hill, East Penn, Shore districts. The Employment First Coalition, everybody's familiar with that, had planned a transition fair that I reported on previously. That had been scheduled for March 3. Again, bad weather that day. Some of you remember pretty vividly. The event had to be canceled due to that, and they have not been able to find a rescheduling for that event. But the Employment First Steering Committee is exploring possibly doing a virtual session sometime before the end of the school year. And let's see, EI parent, early intervention parent training, March 23rd, caring for yourself while caring for your family. Megan Johnson from MH and Beth Ann McConnell from the intermediate unit were the presenters. So there's an infant mental health overview training on April 14, lunch and learn. That will be presented by Sarah Cooper, who's a special instructor for our department. And let's see what else we got. Again, it was mentioned earlier, the Farm Bureau did have their spring event. I thought it's worth noting that there was extensive reporting on 2 issues, the FPRs. And that was, of course, interesting to see that that's still moving forward. As we know, State Farm Bureau has not been particularly engaged in that, but the local Cumberland County Farm Bureau is maintaining an interest and continuing to push on that to find a resolution to the issue. And it was very interesting that probably the preponderance of the time was spent on the data center issue, which, as I've said many times, is a significant threat to remaining farmland, and is an issue that the Farm Bureau has wisely been paying attention to. They have some parameters that they've come up with and announced at that meeting in terms of advocacy. Again, hopefully they're going to get beyond just a county level with that. But I thought it worth pointing out they had a very thoughtful approach to the approvals that they would like to see considered, including the preservation of class 1, 2, and 3 soils, which is essentially the prime soils that we address through our farm preservation program as well. So a lot of discussion on that, a lot of consternation and part of the public that we've all seen reported in the media and heard from firsthand as well. That was reflected in that meeting as well. So I think the fact is that that's going to be an ongoing concern. And I found it interesting that the nature of the discussion was very different than the nature of the discussion a year ago. And I think it's going to be a fast evolving issue that things will be very different a year from now. And personally, I'd like to have a discussion on what we might do to sort of keep tabs on the evolution of that issue and where we as a county can be helpful in that. I think everybody's familiar with the white paper that planning put out, but the implementation of that and possible revisions to that, I think, are something that are worthy of some consideration going forward. So Barb Gleim did speak, Representative Barb Gleim spoke on a number of issues. She raised the interesting prospect of requirements for decommissioning bond for approvals on those. And I know that's an issue that was discussed in the past in regards to warehousing and such. And it's not deemed to be feasible, but it's interesting that that's part of the legislative dialogue now, and as well as the tax considerations of data centers. So very good discussion, incredibly thoughtful, and glad I was there to hear it. So I think that's all I have for them.
you, Commissioner. That takes us to agenda item 31, which is report of executive sessions. And I would like to report that on March 18, 2026 at 1:30 p.m., there was an executive session regarding personnel. And now I'll ask if there is any other business to come before the board today.
Stacy, no other business, but I did feel compelled to offer a comment, and I wanted to just say that, you know, one of the things that I do believe that we as a county can do is to preserve farms. And Commissioner Fashi and I voted on a budget that did that. And in fact, this year, there's been an announcement that, you know, through all great leveraging, we will be expending $5 million on protecting farmland in the county. So I think that that's a big step that this board can take in order to preserve land and, quite frankly, make data centers go somewhere else. So that was the only thing I wanted to say. Thank you.
Hearing no other business, we are adjourned.